My name is Dave. I'm a part-time reseller over the last 2 years. I sell antiques and vintage collectibles. And today I'd like to go through some of my most successful antique sales from this past year. And I hopefully will give you a little bit more of an education in regards to potentially what to look out for when you're at garage sales or flea markets or estate sales, wherever it might be. So let's jump right in. I'm going to walk you through these images from the eBay sales. Unfortunately, I have just one image for the first four, ultimately, just because these sales were further back in the year. So I don't have access to the full posting. But I'll just talk you through a little bit about the actual item itself, what it's sold for, what I bought it for, and where I found it. So let's get started. This first one here, this is a Starrett Machinist toolbox, obviously a wood chest made by Gerstner here in the US, circa 1950s, 60s, somewhere in that ballpark. I bought it for about $40 at a yard sale. It was pretty dusted and gross and underneath the table, and no one had seen it. And I sold it on eBay for $900. So the Starrett definitely stands out. I've seen all types of toolboxes, chests, wood, metal, you name it. But for me, when I see Starrett, that's one I always am targeting. This one, again, it was dusted. It was in great shape when I found it. It really had the core of what I look for, which is the condition, overall condition. Once you look past all the patina, the handle on the top, which was secured here, the clasps, sometimes you'll see those are broken. They were in great condition, and all the drawers, you can pull them out and they were in fantastic shape. And I actually found some great little tools that were in each of those as well. Usually I won't do much in terms of cleaning antiques, because I really like to keep the patina. But in this case, it was a great opportunity to really clean up that wood, bring out the brilliance and the shine that I knew was there. So I cleaned this one up, got it posted, went for again $900. It was a little tricky to ship because it's a pretty big box, very heavy, but ultimately was able to get it boxed up and on its way, and had a buyer that was able to take it and hopefully give it some more light. Next one I wanted to show you here is a Tychos Short and Mason Antique Storm Graph. It's original wood and glass box from London. Now, again, this is something that you'll see pretty often, but to find it in this shape with the beautiful wood and the glass intact and all the mechanical aspects inside intact is rare to find. I sold this one for $450, and I actually bought it, paid up a little bit, bought it for $45 at an estate sale. But just knowing the condition, seeing the brand name based in London, again, glass completely intact, wood completely intact, just I knew it was what I really wanted to shoot for. You'll find a lot of similar items out there, but you really have to do some research in terms of the company as well as the location. Again, condition, it kind of speaks for itself. This again was a little bit tricky to get out and ship, but worked out okay. Got a lot of bubble wrap on it. I was fortunate that the inside didn't move around too much. But again, another one where, I normally like to keep the patina, but in this case, I was able to bring out the brilliance of that wood with some nice items too. This next one it's called a sad iron. So I really like to find these. It's from the 1880s, cast iron, kerosene lamp. You'll find a lot of like the stove heaters and similar, but this is one that I've sold twice or three times before. It's called a sad iron, just the way it looks. You're not going to find it in great condition, but this is a decent condition. The one I sold before was in better condition than this, but definitely keep an eye out if you can find them. Just a beautiful item. And this one I sold for $225. And I paid up this time. I paid up, it was $30 just because I'd known that I'd sold it quickly in the past. I call it a bolo, or be on the lookout for. So if you track something down, you'll find a lot of similar items that are kerosene lamps or heaters. This is the only one that I really shoot for as a sad iron is what it's called. I always keep an eye out for this one if I can find it, and I recommend that you do the same. The next item I want to move on to, I really like to track down any kind of dispenser or display item from this probably 1920s ballpark, 1930s. This one specific to being a matches dispenser, and by Northwestern. I hadn't been as well versed with Northwestern, but had a chance to do some research. Found this for I think maybe $15. Sold it for $230. Just love the patina on this. Again, didn't touch this one, didn't clean it up much. A beautiful item. And whenever I find anything similar, I really like to find it and get it out there and hopefully get it to a good owner. Not very large either. It was probably about a foot long and not too wide. So an easy ship as well. So certainly try to keep an eye out if you can find something like this. And the final item I wanted to cover is one that I'm always looking out for. These are Gamewell fire alarm boxes, retired. These are, if you're up in the Northeast, you'll see these still being used on a lot of buildings. You'll see them there, but they're not retired. A couple things to keep an eye out for. First is the Gamewell name. Always want to make sure that you find that name if you can. There are others that are similar, but Gamewell is always one that sells. If you look at the inside, that's really going to determine the value. You can see this one sold for $179. They can sell for up to $1,000. I've sold 3 others in the past. I've sold them upwards of $250. What you really need to look for is overall condition, as usual. You can see there's some damage up on top and there's some damage on the sides and the back. Obviously still intact, but those are some of the things to look out for. There's no tag here. So usually there'll be like a number tag that'll increase its value. Maybe sometimes the town where this is located, this doesn't have that, which is why it's sold for a little bit less. This pull down knob, it's a little bit dirty in this case. Sometimes you'll find it a little bit cleaner, but it's still intact. There's no key. One of the things that really increases the value is if you have a key to it. It's very hard to find them with the key, but something to keep in mind if you happen to see one with the key, or even the key itself will sell for pretty good money just because they usually get lost somewhere along the way. And then here is the main portion of where you'll find the value or not find the value is the guts of the actual item. Usually I find something in here. In this case, there was nothing, which is okay. It'll still sell. It still did sell, but this is an area that you want to try to find some other portion of the box that will just help with the overall value. So there's some more information here just about like where the key would be. And then you can see the size. It is difficult to ship just because it is very large. You can see I actually sold it pretty cheap in the world of shipping at $38. Sometimes we'll just throw this in a box and just put a lot of paper around it because the bubble wrap isn't going to do it. It's very heavy. But again, just another thing to keep an eye out. So those are the top 5 items that are antique items that sold this past year. Maybe some items to keep an eye out for, some more rare than others. But I appreciate your time and give us a follow at Return to the Vintage.